Can we make way at the main entrance? We don't want a cluster of people at the main entrance. The academic procession will be filing in. If you can't get a seat, kindly move to the gallery. Make way for the academic procession. Can you please rise as the academic procession files in?
Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, the Registrar, the Bursar, University Librarian, Provost of the College of Medicine, Provost of the Postgraduate College, the Dean of the Faculty of Education, Deans of other faculties and of students, Directors of institutes and centers, Heads of departments, the 10th Vice Chancellor of this university, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The 587th University of Ibadan Inaugural Lecture will be delivered this evening by Professor Olufemi Adegbesan of the Department of Human Kinetics on behalf of the Faculty of Education. Professor Olufemi Adegbesan was born on the 2nd of November 1967 at the Island Maternity Hospital, Lagos, to Omoba Ayodele Olaide Adegbesan of blessed memory, and Mrs. Ayodele Anoruwako Adegbesan. He had his primary school education at Methodist Primary School and St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Primary School, Surulere, Lagos, between 1975 and 1980. His secondary school education was at Government College, Lagos, School 2, now Eric Moore High School, Surulere, Lagos, between 1980 and 1985. Professor Adegbesan had a brief stint of advanced level studies at Baptist Academy of Banikoro, Lagos, 1986, before proceeding to the University of Ibadan to study physical and health education in 1989 and graduated in 1994. He had his mandatory National Youth Service Corps NYC program at Aberdeen College, University of Ibadan. With 3 degrees related to his field of expertise from the then Department of Physical and Health Education of this university, Professor Adegbesan possesses a deep base of knowledge in the field that supports his continued research and mental health support through sports, exercise, and physical activity. His research interests are grouped under 3 main themes: performance enhancement psychology, with emphasis on mental health, and skills application for performance enhancement of elite, non-elite, and children's sports, motivation in sports and exercise, and finally, psychology of sports injury. Professor Adegbesan obtained his PhD in the year 2000. He rose through the ranks to become a professor in 2012. He is currently the Dean of the Faculty of Education of this university and an adjunct professor of Pan-African University Life and Art Science Institute, including Health and Agriculture Foundation. He is also a member of Senate since 2012. He is former head of department, and past Dean of Postgraduate of the Faculty of Education. He is also a member of the Departmental Journal Editorial Committee, member of the Faculty of Education Board, the Distance Learning Center, and the Postgraduate Committee, the Postgraduate College Finance Committee. Professor Adegbesan is also a member of the Social Science Research Ethics Committee, former chairman, University of Ibadan Intra-Campus Transport Committee, former president, University of Ibadan Staff Club, and currently chairman of the University of Ibadan Alumni Association, UICHA. He is a certified accreditor and quality assurance expert in program and institutional accreditation, with all privileges appertaining, and possesses the knowledge and skill to offer accreditation services in all jurisdictions that require such services. He has consistently been involved in program and institutional accreditation for the National Universities Commission (NUC) for the past 12 years and served as assessor to University of Lagos, University of Jos, University of Maiduguri, Nnamdi Azikiwe University Awka, Benue State University, and Taisholani University of Education in Ibadan. Professor Adegbesan's teaching experience provided him with a broad exposure to academic programs outside his discipline of physical and health education, sports, and exercise. He has acquired adequate experience to understand the unique opportunities and needs of diverse academic programs, and this has given him a good understanding of different multidisciplinary norms and expectations. Professor Adegbesan has international teaching and research exposure outside the shores of Nigeria. First at the University College, Dublin, Ireland, as a visiting research professor in 2018, and the University of Botswana as senior lecturer between 2007 and 2010. Professor Adegbesan had also taught students in diverse cultures from Namibia, Ghana, Botswana, Uganda, Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, South Africa, Lesotho, Swaziland, and Mozambique. Also, his academic leadership and administrative skills, which have been enhanced by visits to several countries to negotiate possible linkages for staff and students, and also to enhance his focus on globalization for creativity and innovation for teaching and learning. Professor Adegbesan was one of the scholars who developed and validated the curriculum for the Masters of Science, Sports Management and Policy Development for Pan-African University in 2017 in Lusaka, Zambia. Professor Adegbesan was the only Nigerian in the expert panel at the in-person workshop that validated the framework for sustainable development in sports in Africa under the Agenda 2063, the African Union, the African Union, in 2021 in Rwanda, Angola. To date, he has supervised many master's degree students and also produced 7 PhD grants. Professor Adegbesan has published extensively from his research area of sports psychology, and this has resulted in publication of over 80 peer-reviewed papers and 6 chapters in books. This publication record includes an article that was published in a highly ranked British Journal of Sports Medicine, which was ranked #1 in physical education and sport medicine by Google Scholar. The relevance of Professor Adegbesan's research to international research objectives and interests in sports psychology is also demonstrated by the funding his work has received so far, particularly the University of Ibadan Senate Research Grant, the University of Botswana Research Grant, the West African Research Center Travel Grant (DATA) Senegal, the United Kingdom Department of International Development, the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, the Wellcome Trust, and particularly in the last 5 years, he gave a very high scholarly leadership to his research team that won 109 million naira Tech Fund National Research Program. Professor Adegbesan has made scientific paper presentation in Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, and also in the Americas. In addition to these conferences, Professor Adegbesan has taken on leadership roles in the Nigerian Football Association, Nigerian Football Federation, for which he has served as the Vice Chairman of the Disciplinary Board and presided over a case that made history in Nigerian football, in which the International Association of Football Federation, FIFA, upheld their decision for the first time in the history of football administration. Professor Adegbesan is a fellow of the Sports Psychology Association of Nigeria. He currently holds a position of the national president. He was a sports psychologist to the following: Botswana Defense Force football team, the 3SC football team, the University of Ibadan Sports Council, the Confederation of African Football, the African Women's Nations Cup, and the Nigerian Olympic Table Tennis team. Professor Adegbesan is happily married to Omotolani Adegbesan, and their marriage is blessed with 3 wonderful and amiable children. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and I invite Professor Olufemi Adekola Adegbesan to deliver his lecture, which is titled A Mental Game, Revolutionizing Sports and Exercise Through the Lens of Sports Psychology Partnerships. Professor Adegbesan.
Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnership, Registrar, Bossa, University Librarian, Provost of the College of Medicine and Postgraduate College, Dean of the Faculty of Education, Deans of other faculties and the students, Directors of institutes and centers, Gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I thank the Almighty God for the gift of life, for making it possible for me to deliver the 587 inaugural lecture of the University of Ibadan. I appreciate the entire Faculty of Education for nominating me. I am deeply honored by the presence of everyone here today. This lecture is the 6th in the reformed Department of KINETICS and Health Education, but the second in the new Department of KINETICS as a result of the unbundling done by the National University Commission. The previous lectures given in these 2 departments were given by Professor J. Adedeji, Professor C. Owudo, Professor J. Ajala, Professor O. Moronkola, Professor A. Fadoju, which was the last one. My career, interest and pathway to sports psychology. As a boy growing up in the city of Lagos, my career interest was to be an engineer, and specifically an agricultural engineer. Perhaps that is the reason why some of my bosom friends are from the Department of Agricultural Engineering. But unfortunately, I was weak in physics and chemistry in my 4th form. Hence, my vice principal, who also doubled as my mathematics teacher, compelled me to drop the 2 subjects for 2 arts subjects in my 2nd term in the 4th year. That action truncated my ambition to become an engineer. But I'm grateful to God today. My first child graduated recently as a biomedical engineer with a 1st class grade. Two major events pointed me in the direction of sports psychology. The first was the miracle of Damal, also known as the Dama Miracle. This was the name given to the result of a quarter-final football match between the Nigerian under-20 football team and the under-20 football team of USSR at the 1989 FIFA World Youth Championship in Saudi Arabia, which the Nigerian under-20 team went on to resilience exhibited by the Nigerian team made the match a footballing record, as Nigeria became the first team to come back from 4 goals down to equalize, then go on to win a FIFA World Cup match at any level. The man who God used to make that miracle happen is seated in this hall today, by name Professor Shehu Motayo. The second event was an interactive experience with Professor John Ademola Adedeji in my first year as an undergraduate student in the department. I wanted him to facilitate a change of course to the Department of Psychology in the Faculty of Social Sciences. His wise counsel and words of motivation are what refocused my plans and sharpened my pathway in this discipline. No doubt his memory will remain evergreen to me. Introduction. The mental game in sport and exercise psychology is a collection of psychological characteristics that helps athletes perform at their best. These characteristics include mental toughness, confidence, motivation, focus, resilience, and emotional regulation. Mental game coaching is the segment of sports psychology that concentrates specifically on coaching athletes and individuals involved in exercise for fitness or therapy to break through the mental barriers that keep them from performing up to their peak potentials, and by teaching them the mental skills for success. The concept of mental game also applies to all life situations outside of sports and exercise. In everything we do, one real life experience that many people can relate to is test taking, whether it be at work, school, or even at home. Test taking can be stressful, even when you feel prepared. In this moment, everything you thought you knew slipped your mind right as you start the test. Your heart is beating faster. Your hands are getting sweaty. How do you calm yourself and complete the test at your highest potential? Please, ladies and gentlemen, you can meet with a sports psychologist. My lens as a sports psychologist has formed research partnership in contemporary sports and exercise psychology, science, arts, and using psychological variables that includes mental toughness, confidence and goal setting, focus and concentration, injury rehabilitation, team dynamics, imagery techniques, self-talk, and doping in sport. The history of sports psychology, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir. Nowadays, sport and exercise psychology is more popular than ever before. However, this does not mean that the field has developed only recently. Modern sports psychology dates back to the 1880s, and references to psychology can be traced back to ancient Olympic Games. The history of sports psychology coincides with the history of other fields like psychology, kinesiology, and physical education. The field has also been influenced by large sociocultural development like the growth of the Olympic movement, women's liberation efforts, and popularity of professional sport as business. The history of sports psychology falls into 6 periods, which are early years, the development of psychological testing and laboratory, future preparation, establishing academic sports psychology, multidisciplinary science and practice, and contemporary sport and exercise psychology. Conceptualization of sport and exercise psychology. Sports and exercise possess a distinctive nature as they intricately integrate physical and psychological components, setting them apart as a unique realm of human endeavor. Sport and exercise psychology can be described as the science that exploits the dynamic networks of biopsychological descriptors, external variables, and psychological skills that determine sport and exercise experiences. Which is sport and exercise psychology? The importance of sports psychology has been realized for decades. but many coaches and athletes pay little attention to how it can help them perform better. Physical aspects of sports are critical, but they become more significant when combined with an effective mental training program, including looking into relationships within the team, aspects of leadership, behavioral patterns, and individual personalities. So what are the functions of the sports psychology? First, in sports psychology, we handle performance enhancement, we handle stress and anxiety, we handle injury support, we handle health awareness, and we also dwell into research and development. Revolutionizing sport and exercise psychology. Revolutionizing sport and exercise psychology involves shifting from a focus on individual performance to a broader understanding of the psychological aspect of sport and exercise. This includes addressing biases, promoting inclusivity, and expanding the scope of research beyond elite athletes. It also requires a more nuanced understanding of psychological impact of sport and exercise on individuals and communities. Mr. Bachelor, my research contribution. My quest to revolutionize sports psychology research through partnership began in year 2002. In that study, Zing, Smith, and Adegbesan 2024 examined 6 mental qualities of trait anxiety, trait self-confidence, concentration, mental preparation, achievement motivation, and leadership among elite athletes from 4 countries. These 4 countries were North America, China, Singapore, and Nigeria. Since such a comparison has not been conducted previously, this investigation provided a guide for cross-cultural research in sports, and Nigeria was included because little previous sports psychology data has been measured. The motivated analysis results revealed that there were significant differences among the athletes from the 4 countries. North American athletes showed highest scores for all 6 mental qualities among the 4 countries. Chinese athletes displayed lower anxiety and superior concentration, achievement motivation, and leadership when compared to the 6 Singaporean athletes. A follow-up values were also conducted to examine which of the 6 mental qualities contributed most to the difference among the 4 groups. Of the 6 variables, mental preparation skills contributed most to the difference, followed by concentration, self-confidence, achievement motivation, leadership, and competitive trait anxiety. Scores for the Nigerian athletes tended to fall between the Eastern and Western athletes for all variables except concentration, where they scored the lowest. 4 follow-up studies on Nigerian athletes, Adegbesan 2008 and Adegbesan and Odion 2017, with focus on assessment used with 5 key components of mental toughness, which are reboundability, ability to handle pressure, concentration, level of confidence, and motivation. Shows some resemblance to the components used in the cross-cultural comparison. Mental toughness appears to be multidimensional and most often associated with unshakable self-belief, the ability to rebound after failures, persistence, coping effectively with adversity and pressure, and retaining concentration in the face of many potential distractions. Adegbesan 2007 A and B. Sport and exercise imaging. Mr. Bachelor, another area of research so dear to me is the multidimensional usage of imagery, which serve both motivational and cognitive functions. There are many terms that refer to an athlete's mental preparation for competition. Some of these terms are mental rehearsal, covert practice, visualization, imagery, mental practice. All these terms refer to creating or recreating an experience in mind. Pieces of information that have been stored from experience are recalled from memory, and these pieces are shaped into meaningful images. Every person seated in this hall employs imagery to recreate experiences. People are able to accomplish certain actions because they can remember events and recreate pictures and feelings of them. People can also imagine events that have not yet occurred. Imagery can, thank you. Thank you. Imagery can help athletes and non-athletes prepare for difficult situations so that they are prepared with different circumstances during competition and other life engagements. My first shot on imagery research examined five types of imagery used by 198 Nigerian athletes in track and field, soccer, and table tennis, using sports imagery questionnaire to assess whether these participants differ in their use of imagery. Significant differences were noted for the three sports on subscales of cognitive general, motivational specific, motivational general mastery, and motivational general arousal. While moderate to strong positive correlation were identified among scores on imagery subscales, especially motivational general mastery and motivational general arousal. Adegbesan 2009. I also look at the team sports players' perception of cohesion and imagery used among qualified elite sport athletes in Botswana. The athletes were assessed with the group environmental questionnaire and sport imagery questionnaire to determine whether a relationship exists between the variables and whether imagery used will significantly predict team cohesion. Results of the correlation analysis revealed a significant composite effect of imagery used on cohesion, while a shared variance of 6.7% was recorded for both variables. Findings suggest that the cognitive and effective elements of passive imagery and cohesion are reciprocally related on the basis of theories concerning the relationship between cognition and affect. The implication of these findings suggests that the team cohesion and imagery relationship could be used for team building and a team intervention tool with other cognitive variables. Adegbesan 2010A and 2010B. I also investigated the relationship between imagery and sport confidence. The findings in ABMA 2002 and Adegbesan 2010 showed that highly confident athletes compared to their less confident counterparts use all five functions of imagery more frequently. With regards to vigorous experience, part of the findings of my work revealed that application of imagery type, such as cognitive general, to a team sport could provide an avenue that allows an athlete to image his or her teammate successfully executing strategies as sources of sports confidence. Consequently, the athlete imaging would gain vigorous experience about the sport-specific tasks and therefore self-confidence about his or her ability to perform. Adegbesan 2007A and B. The expert statement on optimal imagery use in sport, exercise and rehabilitation, encompassing the evidence from different contexts from recent research on imagery process. My collaborative research work on analysis of the use of imagery functions by exercise in Nigeria, Adegbesan and Oladipo 2011, perceived influence of self-talk and imagery techniques on emotions of non-elite athletes in Nigeria. Adegbesan et al. 2014. Analysis of self-talk and imagery technique on emotional climate of Paralympic athletes in Nigeria. Adegbesan et al. 2015. The relationship between imagery use and team collective efficacy of elite athletes in Nigeria. Adegbesan et al. 2015. Perceived influence of goal setting and imagery use on sports performance among team sport players in Kogi State University, Olowoleni, Adegbesan and Ayodele 2021, and the effect of imagery techniques on emotional regulation of elite athletes in Oyo State, Cordova, Adegbesan and Ogu 2023 have widely acknowledged imagery as a multidimensional, multimodal construct in sport and exercise psychology research. Knowledge and attitude of regarding orofacial injuries and mouth guard usage by elite athletes in Nigeria. Mr. Baketolosa, this was one of my first collaborative research with my colleagues at the College of Medicine. A systematic review of selected electronic databases was undertaken to identify the extent to which behavioral and social science theories and models have been incorporated into public sports injury prevention research, especially the orofacial injury in sport, and to identify theories adopted and how they were used, because the extent to which they have been used in sports injury research was unknown between 1990 to the year 2000. Very few studies relating to sports safety behavior were explicitly have explicitly used any of this model. As at this period, there had been no study on the awareness of mouthguard and use among Nigerian athletes, except for Fashola, Obiechena, and Arotiba 2000, which was an hospital-based report on sports-related maxillofacial fractures, in which they recommended the need for mouthguard use by sportsmen and women. My collaboration with a colleague in the dental school, Onyaso, and Adegbesan 2003, shows strong support in the scientific literature for the use of mouthguard in contact sports. The mouthguard is a resilient device or appliance that is placed inside the mouth to protect against injuries to the teeth, laceration to the mouth, and fractures and dislocation of the jaw. Using the behavioral and social science theories and model, Onyaso and Adegbesan 2003 assessed the perception of secondary school sport coaches about orofacial injuries and mouth protector usage in sport by the adolescent athletes. The main factor determining the choice of the type of mouthguard for athletes by the coaches was the quality of oral protection and the cost. Acceptance of mouthguard was called as positive by the athletes. The majority of these Nigerian coaches agreed on the protective effectiveness of mouthguard against sport-related orofacial injuries. Further research was also conducted on the perception of Nigerian athletes of the use of mouthguard to prevent the stresses of sport injuries using a multidimensional analytical approach with the behavioral and social science theories and models as a guide. The stresses of injury as they influence the physical, social, and psychological well-being of athletes are of utmost importance to psychologists and physicians. Adegbesan and Onyaso 2004. This study also used a matrix to examine the relationship among stresses of sport injury. Excuse me. The findings revealed greater strength in the relationship between physical and psychological stresses of injury compared with that between physiological and psychological stresses and psychological and physical stresses. The athlete's perception of the use of mouthguard to prevent the stresses of sport injuries based on groups of sport, namely compact sport, racket and stick games, ball games, and individual sport, was also determined. The analysis of variance revealed a significant difference in the group categorization on the psychological and physical stress variable, while there was no significant difference among the groups on the psychological stress variable. Sleep habits in athletes before important competition or games. Vice Chancellor, sir. My collaboration on sleep habits of athletes happened to be a landmark research and being the first pioneering data in this area of research with my German colleagues. Athletes often report that they experience worse sleep on nights before an important competition than with their usual sleep. Such anecdotal evidence is not uncommon in interviews with professional athletes. Furthermore, several overview articles about sleep and sport performance state that sleep quality can be disturbed in athletes for several reasons, including changes in time zone, sleeping in an unfamiliar location, diet, pre-competitive anxiety, and excitement. Our study focused on the prevalence and incidence of sleep problems in German athletes. Our first aim was to determine the frequency with which elite athletes report having sleep problems before an important competition. Our second aim was to investigate possible influencing factors such as gender and type of sport. It was anticipated that female athletes and athletes of individual sport will have more sleep problems than male athletes and athletes from team sport. Our third aim was to collect information about sleep problems that predominate. Factors underlying the sleep disturbance, whether athletes perceive negative effects of disturbed sleep on their daytime performance, and strategies athletes use to overcome sleep problems in the night before an important competition. Despite the overall exploratory nature of the study, given the sex-based differences in insomnia, we anticipated that female athletes would be more likely to perceive negative effects and would not have developed any particular counter strategy. 65.8% of the athletes stated that they have slept worse than normal, at least once on the night before an important competition, compared with their female counterparts. There was a tendency for more female athletes to report poor sleep before competition. Athletes from individual sports reported poor sleep more often than athletes from team sport. The findings of the present study indicate that 66% of the athletes experience poor sleep in the night before an important competition, at least once in their lives, and similarly, higher percentage had this experience at least once during the preceding 12 months. Elisha, Elispen, Adegbesan, and Gali, 2011. This study provides the first data on the prevalence of disturbed sleep before competition with 380 Google Scholar citations. The main sleep problem reported was getting to sleep, but nervousness and thoughts about the forthcoming competition or game were rated highest for causing this. Adegbesan et al. 2016 and Adegbesan et al. 2020 on Nigerian and Irish athletes confirmed prevalence of sleep disturbance in athletes in the night prior to important competition as a worrisome phenomenon with a descriptive research design approach. Results indicated that over 70% of athletes had experienced poor sleep in the night prior to a sport event. The causes of sleep disturbance were attributed to as being more internal than external, with reasons such as nervousness, thoughts about the competition particularly prevalent. Long-term athlete development. Sport talent identification and development has become an interesting area of sports science research, and it is regrettably to state that Nigeria currently does not have an ideal long-term athlete development structure, and this is the more reason why the Nigerian Olympic contingent could not win a single medal at the London and Paris Summer Olympics with 12 billion naira spent to participate. For example, a particular table tennis player represented Nigeria at the Summer Olympics for 32 good years and never won a single medal. This can never happen in countries with this model. My experience at Aspire Sport Academy in Qatar and a few in Europe and America necessitated the need for our preliminary investigation in Nigeria with the view to develop an ideal sport talent identification and development model that could be used for future recruitment and selection of young potential athletes. Adegbesan et al. 2010. 50 participants were purposely selected for this particular study. Results indicated that the physiological characteristic was the most apparent considered variable used by the participants during the talent identification and development process when compared with other variables of motor skill, psychology, physiology, and body morphology. Our second research examined athlete development of mental toughness for long-term athlete development in sports on 45 male and 42 female athletes drawn from different sports. Results revealed a significant relationship between mental toughness, soft skills, and long-term athlete development. Adegbesan and Odeo 2017. Factors identified included performance success, competition, skill mastery, education advice, the use of psychological skill training, and having good social sport network. All these point that when the mental toughness needed is developed, it must be maintained by strong sports and non-sport network and finding the right balance between sport and life career pursuit. My colleagues and I also investigated the relationship between sources of sport confidence and long-term athlete development in Nigeria. Adegbesan et al. 2018. The participants used for this study were 85 and 48 male and female athletes in ball games, racket games, and track and fields. The results showed significant positive relationship between the sport confidence and athlete development variables. Further results shows significant cumulative effect of all the sources of sport confidence variables on athlete development. Vice Chancellor, sir, we extended this area of research to Malawi, where my colleagues and I started a multidisciplinary study in Malawi after realizing a need for innovative approaches to identify and develop talents. The study focused on the complex relationship between environmental factors, athletes support staff, and soccer players' ascent to the national level. Ntambo, Adegbesan, and Kumalo, 2021. There was no significant difference in knowledge of talent allocation and development among athletes support personnel in Malawi based on district. Our study emphasizes how important contextual characteristics such as location, individual, provision factors are influencing soccer players' advancement to the national level. Our findings offers valuable insights into knowledge gaps and challenges faced by athlete support personnel in Malawi. Notably, the results indicate that these personnel require enhanced knowledge and structured processes for talent allocation and development. Doping in sports. Despite the positive environment and existing laws across countries and federations, there is rarely a sports season not marred with sport doping scandal. Increase in the incidence of doping behavior made it imperative for us to develop and validate a measure of athlete support personnel with respect to knowledge, attitude, and prevalence of doping in sports in Nigeria. Adegbesan et al. 2023. A survey-based study was conducted to develop a theoretical-based psychometric sound scale, this scale was found to be very useful in helping athletes address significant gaps in both basic and applied research in doping in sport. In another study, we also investigated the Nigerian athletes' perspective on urine doping. Adegbesan et al. 2023, taking into cognizance the attitude of Nigerian athletes regarding urine doping prevention as influenced by the emotional, cultural, and environmental characteristics of athletes. Athletes' comments frequently touch on issues including secrecy, cultural norm violations, the existence of biased environment that could skew test findings, and the psychological anguish, suffering, and shame associated with the traditional doping test. We also investigated Paralympic athletes' perspective of doping self-regulatory efficacy in Nigeria among the disabled athletes, with the use of descriptive survey research to find the extent of the para-athletes' likelihood to dope and confidence to avoid banned substances. Results from the study revealed that the para athletes showed high self-efficacy and low likelihood to dope, even in the presence of stressors. Adegbesan et al. 2024. So psychological interventions are suggested to combat the likelihood to dope, given the experience levels or psychological disposition of athletes. We also recently embarked on another study to ascertain the doping self-regulatory efficacy among elite athletes. Doping self-efficacy regulation of athletes, when understood, helps in understanding athletes' intention. We found weak relationship between doping self-efficacy and sport category. Athletes' sport confidence in avoiding doping was found to be weakly related with age, but positively related to gender. Olowoleni, Adegbesan et al. 2025. Mr. Bakidala, sir, this particular study was one of the NRF awards that was granted to us in the year 2000. Choking in sports. The inability of very high quality athletes to perform to standard expected necessitated my research into choking as a sports psychologist. Choking under pressure is a common explanation given for performing below expectation. Evidence from laboratory experience that choking under sport is a phenomenon among skilled athletes is consistent. The sources of choking under pressure are more internal and are both internal and external pressure. Information on indices of choking under pressure among athletes during competition was collected on sample 300 athletes and rated on a questionnaire on external and internal perceived sources of choking. Results indicate a significant difference in mean rating on the two choking indices for men and women athletes. Adegbesan 2010. The mean score for women were higher than the mean score for men. Means for sports groups were similar for the internal causes of choking, but significantly different on the external causes. When we talk about choking in sport, we are talking about inability of a very high quality athlete to perform at a equal standard. When an athlete like Messi and Ronaldo misses penalty kicks, they could be under pressure, and that's a simple example of choking in sports. We also investigated effect of psychological intervention strategies on choking susceptible university athletes and non-elite athletes, which with the use of experimental research design in another collaborative study. Pressure conditions were manipulated by using an audience, video recorder during performance, and performance contingents. Tests on performance scores under pressure was not significant. Result of the correlation analysis revealed that there was no significant difference between experimental and control group in the competitive anxiety scale and performance score. Omorege and Adegbesan 2008. Policy framework for sustainable development of sport in Africa. I was engaged by the African Union Commission in November 2021 in Luanda, Angola, to validate the policy framework for the sustainable development of sport in Africa and to situate sport within the broader African Union Agenda 2063 to contribute towards achieving the continental aspiration of the African we want. The main goal of the policy is to promote participation, build capacity, and enhance excellence of African athletes while fostering the ideals of African renaissance, promoting social cohesion, and stimulating nation building through sport. The policy further incorporates aspirations of African governments, sports actors, and other role players drawn from the wide consultation at various levels for the greater good of the African athlete and African sport. The policy framework contains 5 pillars upon which sport in Africa is envisaged to contribute towards sustainable and inclusive development of Africa. The 5 pillars are an active Africa, a winning Africa, a sustainable Africa, an innovative Africa, an Africa, a united Africa. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, in all the countries that we have in Africa, I am part of the policies that was drawn for them to use as a guide of their sport policy in their various countries. Conclusion. As a sport and exercise psychologist, I have over 25 years of experience in the use of performance enhancement psychological skills in research and practice. My work is important as a sport and exercise psychology because physical activities is viewed in different ways as a tool for health, human potential, social and political change. Revolutionizing sport and exercise psychology involves applying a deeper understanding of human behavior and motivation to improve sport performance and enhance well-being through physical activity and address mental health issues related to sport and exercise. This has been achieved by my collaborative and innovative approaches to research and practice. The outcome of my cutting-edge research on sleep habits with my colleagues is now commonly used to psychologically prepare athletes in sub-Saharan Africa. My research on imagery has demonstrated effectiveness on imagery used in sport, exercise, and practice. It has proved to be one of the few studies in sub-Saharan Africa that have examined the theoretical connection between imagery and confidence in sport and exercise. I've also been uniquely trained to use my expertise for multidisciplinary research. This can be found in my work with my colleagues in Faculty of Dentistry on the use of mouth guards and my research on doping in sport with my colleagues in pharmacy, hematology, physiotherapy, and physiotherapy, and as well our study on the pedagogical and analogical approaches of sports and performing arts for children and women mental health rehabilitation in Nigeria RDB camps with my colleagues in psychiatric, social work, music, theater art, and counseling, and also with our research on sport pharmacy, which is the use of autotonous and botanical supplements among educators in Nigeria. With my colleagues in pharmacy, biochemistry, health education, physiotherapy, and human kinetics. Recommendation. It is recommended that the National Sports Commission should leverage on the current globalization of sport and exercise psychology to revolutionize the sport business industry in Nigeria. It is also as a policy, make the inclusion of sports psychologists mandatory as part of the technical team for sports for athletes competing at different levels within and outside the country. The athletes with the mental health possesses the competitive advantage, even if their physical and abilities are equal to the opponent. Lastly, the Master of Ibadan should develop a mental game clinic and an athlete development model for Nigeria through the establishment of Master of Ibadan Sport Academy. Acknowledgement. I acknowledge God the Almighty for the fact that I am one of those He chose to have mercy upon. For it is by His mercy that I am what I am today. I appreciate the management team of Master of Ibadan, ably led by my dear and honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Kayode Oyebode Adegbesan, FAS MNI, for believing in me in my competency to serve at different levels in the university. I appreciate the input of all my teachers from primary to secondary school level within the university and outside the University of Ibadan. I'm particularly grateful to late Professor John Ademola Adedeji, who was my academic mentor father and confidant. I appreciate Professor Elizabeth Nwako, who facilitated my employment in the University of Ibadan in the year 2000. God bless you, ma'am. I also appreciate the very impactful relationship that I enjoy both as a student or as a colleague with every members from the KINETICS and Education family. I acknowledge the special parenthood that I enjoyed from Professor and Dr. Mrs. Ruben Arolo in the last 35 years. Late Professor E.K. Adeshogun for the spiritual upliftment of my family, Professor Femi Olabi and Professor Ifem Olabode Lucas for always watching out for me. I also acknowledge the awesome relationship with my late professors, Ademola Abbas and Kayode Omolawo. Your memories are loving and unique. I miss you guys. Rest well, my dear brothers and friends. I have enjoyed the support of all the professors and non-professors in my faculty in different ways, and I acknowledge their kindness. I also appreciate the unwavering support and loyalty of members of the Dean's Office. I acknowledge the inputs of the chairman of the faculty inaugural committee, Professor KINETICS and his team. Thank you very much. Special thanks to Professor Francis Ebogare, Professor Ayokende, Mr. Olatunji Oladejo, and Dr. Egudia for their editorial work done on this lecture. I am grateful to the following past vice chancellors for the following: Professor Ayodele Falashe for facilitating my confirmation as a staff of the university. Professor Olufemi Bamiro, the Government Chief Training he anchored, led to our research team, winning 3 research grants in 4 years. Prof, thank you very much. And Professor Isaac Folonsho Adewale for the immense support for the innovation of the University of Ibadan Senior Staff Club when I was the president of the club. And lastly, Professor Idowu Olayinka for the approval of my recommendation as chairman of ICTC. I also acknowledge the beautiful relationship that I enjoy with all the current members of the COPDs. Thank you very much. God bless you. My special appreciation goes to all our past chairmen and current leadership of our union, ASU, for all your sacrifices which made our union strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity salute also goes to our sister union, the SANU, NASU, and ENAD. God bless you all. I appreciate the restoration family of the chapel under the leadership of our chairman, Engineer Jimmy Ashayi, and the chaplaincy led by our amiable President Dr. Oladele for the provision of a non-chief environment to the university. I also especially appreciate the men's league and the chapel of the chapel, and pay a glowing tribute to our late president, Brother Idowu Falaye, who went to be the Lord recently. I acknowledge every member of the Senior Staff Club of the under the current leadership of Dr. Femi Oyamaki. To all members of our research team, I say thank you all. Special thanks to all my senior colleagues and colleagues outside the Faculty of Education. Time will not permit me to mention your name. I also acknowledge the cordial relationship with the non-academic members of the university community that I worked and have interacted with. Your love for me is deeply appreciated. I appreciate all my friends outside the University of Ibadan. God bless you all. Special thanks to my wonderful past and present students. I love you all. I also appreciate the members of my professional body, and also my graduate class of 1985 of my secondary school. I also acknowledge and late the UIAA worldwide. God bless you all. And also appreciate my neighbors, both in Ajibode and and the Metro Estate in Lagos. I'm also thankful to your Royal Highnesses present today, the Olu of Ilaro, the Paramount Ruler of Yoruba land, Obatende Madewole Olugbele, who is also the chairman of the State Council of Obas, and my Oloko of Ijebu-Mushin, where I come from, Oba Stevie Adedeji Onofowoko, and then our very own Elesugbo of Ijebu-Mushin, Oba Professor Titi Layo Azan. I say thank you to all of you. I appreciate Ayodele Olaide Adegbesan, who will have been 95 years old today. For the discipline he instilled on me growing up as a boy, and my late stepmom, Mama Ibeji Abosede Adegbesan, for making us value the need for hard work. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me, sir, to doff my cap for my mom, who is seated here. She is an highly cerebral 94-year-old mom. Mama Ayodele Adegbesan, who is a teacher of teachers, for her sacrifices and prayers all through the years to make our dreams come true. She has always looked forward to these days. Mom, I thank you. To all my siblings, I thank you all. I also thank Dr. Adegbesan, who is not just only a sibling, but a fellow alumnus of this great university, who has been a great benefactor to me and to the University of Ibadan. To my uncles, led by Otumba Kunle Adegbesan, and my auntie, Mrs. Morenike Esho, I appreciate you all. My cousins, my nephew, my nieces, I thank you all. I paid tribute to Mrs. Taiwo Omoyele, God bless you all. I pay going tribute to my parent-in-laws of blessed memory, late Ijibayo and Bamtale Olasende. It was very great to have you as in-laws. May your soul continue to rest in God's blossom. I also acknowledge Mr. Kolawole Olasende, who has always filled the vacuum left by my parent-in-law. To my wife's sibling, all of you, I love you. I love you, God bless you, Lord. And thank you for always filling the gap for me. To my amiable children, for your Soluwa, Musumoluwa, and Adonoluwa, thank you for being lovely and kind-hearted children. You are destined for greatness, and we fulfill God's destiny for your life in Jesus' name. To my beloved wife, Omotolani, what we always fall short of my capturing the depth of my appreciation for everything you have done and continue to do. I love and appreciate you. I know I might not say this enough. You are my safe place, my peace of mind, my voice of wisdom, my prayer warrior. You have walked beside me through every chapter of this long and sometimes unpredictable journey. Your unwavering support, patience and understanding and enduring faith in me have been the foundation upon which so much of my work has rested. Your quiet strength and endless encouragement have seen me through a lot of long nights, demanding deadlines and moments of doubt. You have not only been a partner in life, but a partner in purpose. Many see the result of a professor's work in publication, lectures or titles, but what they don't often see is the support system behind the scenes. So today, as I stand here to deliver this inaugural lecture, I do so not only in recognition of my academic achievement, but in acknowledgement of the incredible partnership that has made this happen. Thank you, T-Baby.